Welcome, welcome, welcome!
You guys ready to party?
I said, are you ready to party?
I need to know if I can start the party.
You know what? Start the party.
Did Michael give you permission to do this?
Start the party.
So, Cameron,
Yeah.
I had an idea. I listened to our first two recordings.
Yes.
And I kind of cringed at how many times we said like.
Yes, me too.
We said like a lot.
Like, that was crazy.
Like I know.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, it really bugged me, like, how much we said like.
Like, yeah, I felt the same way. Like, I feel like maybe we could, like, stop trying to say like so much.
Yeah. I feel like we could do that too. Maybe, like, I don't know. We could do an opening where we, like, say like a bunch. I don't know.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because normally, like right now, we're not really saying like that much.
Yeah, no.
Maybe we've said it 2 times total.
Yeah, but that's, like, when it's necessary to say like, because, like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't watched these in like 2 weeks, so
I know, yeah. I had to watch them again today
I
because
was thinking of doing that, but
even then, I was kind of half concentrating on them.
yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how you watch The Office.
That's true. It's a great background show.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And speaking of background, let's talk about Michael's background and
Yes.
his childhood.
Yeah.
We're talking about the healthcare episode. And yeah, it starts out with Michael, doesn't it?
Yeah. That
Pretty
seems
sure.
right. I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you're right.
Typically, that's how they start out.
Exactly. Yeah, because Michael has to pick out the healthcare plan. I think it starts out with him and Jan.
Him and Jan, yeah.
And he is very forlorn to find out that he has to deliver a horrible plan to his employees. And it can't be the gold plan.
Honestly, that healthcare sounds amazing.
It does. Acupuncture. I could go for some of that. Which, have you ever done acupuncture before?
No.
I don't know if I could.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'd find that relaxing or not.
me neither. Because I don't mind needles, but I don't know if I just want a bunch in my
Just
back.
hanging from your skin.
Yeah,
I would feel like Ben in Parks and Rec
yeah,
on the Treat Yourself Day.
yeah.
He is just stressed out.
Yeah, doesn't it, like, numb your muscles or, like,
Apparently,
your
it has
nerves
something
so
to
they
do.
don't, like, bug you?
So, in one of my science classes, we were supposed to research pseudosciences, and acupuncture is technically a pseudoscience.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay.
Because there's no real, maybe there are some actual effects, but apparently it's very much has to do with like chi and
Okay.
things that aren't like scientifically provable.
Okay.
But maybe, I mean, chi could exist.
Yeah,
Who knows?
yeah. Balance your chakras or whatever.
Right. Chakras are good,
Yeah.
especially when they're balanced. You don't want unbalanced chakras.
No, that's the worst when you have unbalanced chakras.
I think Michael probably has unbalanced chakras. Maybe that's why he needs acupuncture.
That might be the case. I want to go on a quick tangent about Jan because I've been watching this YouTube channel where they review like really bad old VHS tapes, and the lady who plays Jan is in one of those movies.
Really?
Yeah, it's
What kind of character does she play?
she is a mom that wears mom jeans all the time. I'm trying to remember exactly the movie.
And is she stable in personality or
I think so. Okay. She's okay. Oh, I'm remembering everything. Okay, so it's like a child's movie where the kid is saving the president's dog.
yes,
And
this is good.
they're also trying to assassinate the president, and the dog knows, and the dogs can talk, and they tell.
Oh, so the kid can understand it.
Yes.
Oh, but can only the kid hear the dogs?
I'm pretty sure everyone else
And
thinks he's crazy.
He has to convince everybody.
Yeah,
that.
and they don't believe him.
I love the premise of this.
But yeah, I just think she plays a mom. I don't know if it's the kid's mom. I think she just works for the president, and she has a very heroic moment at the end where she pushes the president out of the way.
And saves him from assassination because she finally believes in her son. Oh my gosh. Sounds inspiring.
Yeah, but yeah, I just had to say that because I just, yeah.
Jan saves the day. Oh man. Yeah, probably in a parallel universe, she is that mom and she's not crazy.
Honestly, she pulls off mom jeans a lot.
See it.
Yeah,
She's got a good mom gene bod.
yeah, like an 80s vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know. She just has that. But I just had to say that.
Yeah.
Because it opens with her and Michael, and she saved the president, which I think needs to be awarded.
It does.
Yeah.
It needs to be mentioned. It's not something you want to neglect.
Yeah, the president definitely has good health care.
He has the gold plan.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's a secret like presidential plan.
Probably. I feel like your whole president plan is just in your house, like the White House.
Yeah.
You don't have to leave.
You don't have to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Your doctor's office is there.
Probably. There's a lot of rooms in that building.
I really hope that's the case. I think it should be that way.
Yeah.
I mean, go on, you're president. This is America. So anyways,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
Healthcare. And Michael's backstory. So I sort of had I guess I wouldn't call it so much as an epiphany, but maybe some more empathy for
An epiphany.
An epiphany, yes. Yes, that's exactly it.
Nice. Okay.
Just about Michael's background.
Okay.
Because a few weeks ago we were talking about how Michael grew up most likely an only child and with mainly just his mother.
Yes.
And I feel like I haven't given that enough weight in his character backstory
Yeah, you're right.
in shaping who he is. Because in this episode, he really just wants to come off as the good guy.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's really trying to show everyone else in the office that he isn't the bad guy in the situation.
Yeah.
As I'm sure a lot of people have been, like that his mom has dated, or that one guy. I need to figure out his name. I always forget it. I feel like it's
The guy who took him to like baseball games and stuff.
maybe it's a different one. It's one that he doesn't like, and it's when he was
Okay.
the ring bearer for their wedding.
Right. I'm thinking of when he's having a therapy session with Toby. He's talking about some guy that like took him.
But he didn't like him.
I think he.
Maybe he did.
I can't remember. But yeah. Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Anyways, yeah. So I feel like Michael is constantly scared that he's going to come off as the bad stepdad. And in his own life, he's had so much of that. So anything he can do to avoid it, he'll do. And so in this episode, whenever he has to deliver bad news, I bet he associates that so much with those kind of figures in his life, those kind of father figures, that he's willing to do anything to shift that responsibility.
It also reminds me of how he feels about his old boss.
Yeah,
Because
that's true. I didn't think about that.
he always talks about him in a negative light, where he's saying, I don't know, I remember just him talking about how his boss always made them stay on track and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like that's another person that he avoids being because they're very authoritative
Right.
and not.
And don't want to have any kind of fun or be cool. Yeah. He's very concerned about his cool image.
Yeah.
But that's a good point too, is that his former boss, probably while he was an employee in the branch, he probably despised a lot of things that his boss did.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when I'm the boss, I'm going to make sure to do the opposite of that. So I can see that.
Yeah.
I wonder how long it took him to want to reach that goal of becoming boss. Because I can't remember what episode it is, but I remember him talking to Jim once about how he thought he was going to be out of...
That's true. He was like, I said the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, did it ever really cross his mind to be a goal?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Because it seems like he's very infatuated with sales, and he always yearns for those days.
Yeah, any sales days.
Even though now he loves his manager privileges, but
Right.
just being out on the field and joking around with the clusters.
Right,
and-
with Todd Packer.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he was just sitting there one day and he looked up and he didn't recognize anybody. And then they asked him if he wanted to interview for manager position. And it didn't even cross his mind. But he was like, yeah, I could be manager.
That's so sad to think about. He
feel like
just looks up one day
That had
and
to happen.
Yeah.
Like Todd Packer left to go do like traveling sales.
and
And then, yeah, he just looked
he
up
just didn't have any.
and he saw Toby.
Oh man, that'd be funny if like they were on the same level and he'd always have to go to Toby for the employees, the other like his coworkers complaining about him. And then just one day he was like, I'm going to be the boss of you.
Yeah, when did Toby step into the picture?
I don't know.
That's a good. Like, was Michael still an employee when Toby was working there?
It's hard to say because we talked about Toby's elusive appearance. He just kind of shows up. They don't really establish like a backstory for him. I don't think they ever do. He just kind of always works there. I don't know. We'll have to look into when like they interview Toby and stuff, because I know he sometimes talks about his life.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of. I know that he was studying to become a monk
Yes.
at one point,
Yeah, he was.
but who knows how far back that was.
If I remember the pictures correctly, they looked recent-ish. But that's also might just be because they didn't want to get a new actor for Toby that looked younger.
But if we follow the timeline, so Toby got married to his wife. Like, he left the ministry for his wife,
Yes.
and then they had a kid. But then his wife cheated on him,
The kids.
and his kid's like maybe 3 or 4. So maybe he's only been there a few years.
Yeah. Well, didn't he get the HR job like immediately after he married his ex-wife? I feel like that's
Oh,
what
that
he
could
said. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So potentially, maybe as soon as Michael became a manager.
yeah. Because they needed better HR for him being in charge. They were searching for a new HR rep.
Anyways,
Yeah.
yeah, so those are the main insights I've had about Michael's character.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I need to think about that more as we continue watching. Because now I'm thinking more about Jim's character.
Right.
Because I talked a lot about that last episode. But yeah, I feel like I also need to think about Michael's character as well.
Yeah, I think all of them have a really interesting backstory that you
Yeah.
don't often think about.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get in this position? And what shaped the way that they are?
Yeah.
Because there's definitely legitimate reasons. And I think there's like a whole story behind it.
Yeah, there's there's definitely like hidden things throughout
Yeah.
all of this. Just we've talked about Kevin's, I don't know, decline.
Yeah. His drastic decline.
I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of questions that they just kind of leave up to interpretation throughout.
I always like that though. I feel like that helps drive a narrative more than anything. Is leaving part of it up to the audience. I think it's an important part of telling a story.
For sure. Because
The Office is one of the things that people still talk about, and it's been off air for many years.
Yeah.
And people still love talking about it, whether it's just on like a superficial level of just like, these are fun episodes and I had a good time.
One scene?
Yeah. But also people like theorizing that Toby's the Scranton Strangler and like,
And even that was a relatively recent
yeah.
theory, way after the show had ended.
yeah.
Because I don't remember hearing that when the Scranton Strangler episodes were out.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's something about, and I think we'll uncover it more as we keep recording, but there's something fundamentally appealing
Yeah.
about this show that feels very human. And you can't really define it.
No.
I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's-
Because a lot of
definitely
people that I've talked to who have said, oh, I don't like The Office, it's not very funny, or I've found it boring. I don't know. The main thing that I ask people is like, well, how long did you watch it for?
Yeah.
Because we are talking about the first season right now, and that's probably, besides like the last seasons, it's probably like one of the weakest seasons.
I could see that.
Just because it's, I don't know, they haven't established exactly who these characters are yet, and they're still getting into, you know, how they all operate and,
Still kind of trying to find their footing.
yeah, the storylines they want to talk about, and yeah.
I think that's valid. For me personally, it is one of my more favorite, but I
Yeah.
think it's because I have all the previous knowledge.
Yeah,
So
that's
I know where these characters are going. So to see them when they're just barely growing, it's kind of exciting and fun to be like, oh, so this is where that joke kind of started, or
Yeah.
the kind of direction that this started to go in, which is fun.
Just like humble beginnings type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just thinking from an outsider's perspective
Yeah,
of
if you're
like,
just
you've
starting out the
never
show,
seen it before, and
Could be kind of boring.
watching it these days where TV shows immediately are very jumpy and
Yeah.
just like they know what they're trying to be. It's very jarring to see lesser quality and
Yeah, you kind of just get dropped in this situation and environment, but there's not really a driving narrative.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
Like there are stories, but it's not anything that'd be like, whoa, I need to see the next episode to find out what happens.
Yeah.
Or
because that's a main drive for a lot of shows. Like you think of, I don't know, a lot of shows these days are semi-thriller because they want that drive to just like hook you farther and farther into like, well, I have to binge like
Right.
the whole season because
I need
because
to
they just
know.
left me with a cliff ending. And that's true.
Yeah.
I wonder, how do you feel about that? Is that kind of a cheat in some ways to just rely on those kind of tactics? Like it is appealing and I definitely can be effective.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I feel like it's important sometimes. We've talked about Breaking Bad before.
True.
And I think that's a very effective way
they do that effective.
of leaving you wanting more. But it's also, I don't know. It depends on like where you are in the season of Breaking Bad
That's true.
to like when you want to like stop watching and then continue the next day or whenever you're going to continue. But I don't know. The thing is with like Breaking Bad, they're setting up this cliff ending from the beginning. And sometimes they tie a cliff ending from the very first episode to the finale. So it's a very neat bow. But a lot of other shows it feels like the last 10 minutes is suddenly a ramp up.
Yeah, in an effort to get you to watch the next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because if it's done effectively, any tactic like that is just going to add to the narrative. But if you do it the wrong way, it seems like it comes off as cheap.
Yeah.
And I've watched shows, I can't think of any specifically.
I'm thinking of like Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, stuff like that, or even Lost, where that last 15 to 10 minutes, they try to leave you with something to be like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah.
To get you to watch the next episode. But then in the next episode, they even downplay it to be like, oh, it actually wasn't that big of a thing.
Yeah.
Like, we just wanted you to watch this next episode.
Yeah.
I agree with that, because typically that's how it goes, is you click on the next episode, and then probably the first 5 to 10 minutes are explaining that what you just saw wasn't that intense.
Right.
And then it's like, well, I don't want to watch the rest of the episode.
Yeah, they'll do something like, just say hypothetically, like there's like the door busts open and they're home alone, and they make it seem like there's going to be a robbery or something, but then it's just their dad with the groceries. Like,
Yeah.
Something like that for sure. Yeah, I don't know. I think another great thing about The Office is it kind of has that Bob Ross effect where you can play it in the background and it's just kind of this soothing
it is comforting
experience. I've heard a lot of people say that they click on an episode of The Office and then go to bed.
Yeah, that is like one of the main shows, partly because I've seen it so much, but partly because of that sort of sound aesthetic that I can fall asleep to. Because there's like the ringing phones, and they usually talk kind of quiet. Yeah.
Yeah, it might be like a ASMR type thing, because a lot of ASMR sounds are like keyboards typing and quiet tones and like, just like an office vibe to it.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. That might be a
that.
big driving force for people. Yeah, it's interesting to think about that. A lot of shows that are considered more mundane aren't big, like, I don't know, they don't get picked up a lot and like been drawn out for so long.
That's true.
And this was one of the first of its kind to actually accomplish that.
Really though.
Yeah.
Because I could see so easily that after this first season, the network would have been saying, you know what, it doesn't really seem like this is going to be anything. So it was fun to make those 6 episodes, but maybe pitch us another idea.
That's a bit more thrilling. Or yeah, because you think about the UK version of The Office, and I still haven't seen that, but I know it's less seasons.
Yeah, they have maybe 2 or 3 from what I know.
Yeah. Because, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. From what I understand, I heard Greg Daniels talking kind of about this, but it sounded like, what are the actors in the UK office? Ricky Gervais and some other guy who were sort of the main
Martin
concept.
Freeman.
Maybe. I'm not for sure.
Okay.
I know for sure Ricky Gervais. But I think they just kind of got sick of the story and didn't feel like they could go anywhere else with it. So they just kind of stopped making it. And it sounds like Greg Daniels picked it up because they had started this thing, but then got kind of bored with it.
Okay.
And he felt like, oh, wow, this is a fun toy that you guys just left laying around. Let me try to play with it.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
But it is interesting that the US version lasted a lot longer than the UK version. But that's also because, I don't know, Ricky Gervais, and I feel like Martin Freeman would have been the other one. Because, I don't know, he started Sherlock and like The Hobbit and all that.
Yeah, so probably.
Yeah.
Man.
But yeah, trying to think of anything else with Michael. I wrote down like he puts himself on a pedestal, and we've kind of brushed over that. But just furthering the points that we've talked about in previous episodes of like I am God tier type personality, but also very self-doubting of himself, like at the same time.
It's an interesting juxtaposition in his character because he has a lot of overconfidence, but also self-consciousness.
Yeah.
But in strange areas that don't seem to make sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the main person he shows weakness to is Dwight.
Yeah.
And it kind of seeps through to other characters as the seasons progress, with more people that become like want to get to know him a bit better, or just him having a rough day and breaking down in front of everyone. But yeah, he just, it's a weird juxtaposition of what he thinks he's good at, and then also self-doubting himself when someone says, oh, you can't do this, because he's very like set on this healthcare plan because he wants the best for his people, and then as soon as Jan like tosses that to the side, he just panics and doesn't know what to do and hands it off to Dwight. Also, I wanted to talk about your thoughts on his stepdad thing, because he also comes across as kind of a dad character in this as well.
Yeah.
Especially like towards the end where he keeps promising this big surprise.
It's true.
And it feels very like a dad telling his kids like, oh, we're gonna go to McDonald's like after this, or
we'll do something after it.
yeah. And I also wonder if, because he has called his employees like his children before in episodes.
Definitely.
And I'm just wondering if he's kind of filling in the shoes of a dad he never had to these employees.
Yeah.
Even though they range in ages, he still views them as like, I'm the authority here, and I want to make sure that all of you are okay and all of you are my friends, which also ties into an episode when he's younger talking about all the kids he wants to have because he'll have 100 friends.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like that complex is seeping into his employees, where you're all like, I'm your father and you're my children, and my children are my friends, so you're my friend.
Yeah, there's a weird equation going on in his head.
Yeah.
But that certainly adds more evidence to kind of that theory about all these problems with his stepdads. And he recognizes that he's in that kind of position. He's like, I'm just like so-and-so, but I'm going to be different than him.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure that my children like me. And he sort of he sees their expectations as children's expectations instead of adults. Like, what he could really do to be a good father figure would be to pick a decent health plan in the price range.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I want you to have fun and I want you to feel loved.
Yeah.
So I'm going to plan a big surprise for you.
Yeah.
And he tries to go to an all expenses paid trip to a casino or something.
Yeah.
Like any type of vacation type thing, or a trip in a mine.
Yeah.
Like a big, I don't know, like the trip to the mine kind of sounds like, because he played it up as an amusement park ride, so it's definitely, I want to take my kids to somewhere fun.
To a theme park.
Yeah. Whether it's a more adult theme park where they can gamble, where it's all inclusive food, everything.
Get chips.
Yeah. Or just like,
So you guys have laser tag at the bottom.
Yeah.
which again is another like father thing to say.
Totally. That's something a dad would do with his kids on Saturday.
Yeah.
After they do their chores. Just go play laser tag.
I can see a couple of the employees enjoying laser tag,
Yes.
but
I think Kevin would get a big kick out of laser
Yeah.
tag.
I feel like
And Dwight.
Kevin and Dwight, for sure. Yeah.
I kind of wish that's what he would have done. That would have been funny.
Yeah, that would have been funny. Because you look at the later episodes, like the one where Kevin gets excited about the bouncy castle, and then also Dwight loving paintball,
Yes.
which is a very more childish thing to do. And yeah, they're definitely the children of the office,
Yeah.
I would say.
And that's how Michael views them.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel like he kind of, I don't want to say like favors them, but I feel like they definitely have like a special place when he talks about things. I don't know.
Yeah. Yes. I can't add anything more, but yes, absolutely.
We could start talking about Dwight's,
Yeah, let's do.
because he's a big character
He is a big
in this
character
episode.
And we learn more about his sort of ideologies and and just his viewpoint on life.
yeah.
But Michael pitches Jim to pick the healthcare first. But sort of playing into the theory that you've come up with, he immediately says no
Yeah.
and does not want to be a part of that.
Yeah.
But then Dwight's his second choice. And why do you think Dwight is? Is it just because he's such a yes man and a kiss up?
Yeah, I don't know.
Why is Dwight the peanut butter to Michael's jelly, I guess?
I'm not sure. The only thing I can really think of is Dwight is so follow the leader type, and he's just willing to do anything to get closer to his superiors.
true.
He learns very extensive things about his superiors to try and
Impress them
Yeah.
and rise in the ranks. I feel like Dwight views life as from a military perspective.
Yeah.
So he sees himself as a like lowly, I don't know military terms. Private? Is that?
private. Yeah.
But and so he's a private right now in life, but he wants to become a general.
Yeah.
And so he's willing to follow every rule to a T to try to rise in the ranks.
Yeah.
I definitely think that, I don't know, he just very much is willing to do so much for someone, and I think because Michael turns to him so often is just because he knows that he'll say anything to him, and the only reason he asked Jim first is because he wants to be better friends with Jim.
That's true.
And so I feel like the acceptance of Jim saying that he'll do something for Michael is also like acceptance of being his friend.
Yeah, that's true. It's something you could relate to
Yeah.
Jim with. Yeah. I also think maybe a reason he turns to Dwight is because of his decisiveness.
Yeah.
Dwight is anything but undecisive. If you put a decision in front of him, he's going to pick one side and stick to it.
Yeah.
And that might be one reason why Michael relies on him, because when Michael has a really hard time choosing something, he's just like, I'm just going to give this to Dwight because at least a decision will be made and I won't have to agonize over it.
Yeah, it's kind of like a parent duality type thing where one of the parents is like the fun parent where they just want to go have fun with their kids, and the other one is the very decisive one where if the fun parent isn't making up their mind, then they'll step in and say,
Father.
yeah.
Yeah, Dwight is Michael's wife
Yeah.
or husband. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it just feels very, I don't know, like you say, the peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
It's just they are the opposites of each other, but they have a lot of commonalities. So they just work well together, even when sometimes they hate what the other is doing and they don't like their decisions, but they still like keep meeting up because they just know when to trade off powers.
They really are like an old married couple. The more I think about it, they like hate each other, but they love each other, and they share responsibilities.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's also, I want to talk about the analogy that Dwight says of calling himself the lion.
Yeah.
He comes up with this story of
Healthcare in the wild.
yeah. What is the other animal that he says? I'm trying to think.
I don't know. I almost feel like it's people and not another animal, but maybe it is. I might be wrong about that.
Slipping my mind. But just, I don't know. I don't really know exactly what to say to this, but I just wanted to bring up the fact of how he views himself and how, especially how he explains it, where he's just talking about a story and then he's like,
But I'm the
but
lion.
I'm the lion.
Yeah.
And that's me. I'm the power in the situation that I just came up with.
Off the top of my head. I've never thought about this before.
It feels very much like a story that they would talk about at home.
Yeah. Like he tells Mose as he's going to bed.
Gives Mose nightmares.
And that's where they start.
He dreams of lions attacking him.
Ever since the storm.
Now I can just picture like they're both children and there's a big rainstorm outside and Mose is scared. And then Dwight just scares him more with this lion story. I can just see like baby Mose clutching like a stuffed animal and being like,
Baby Mose with his chin beard. Yes.
oh man, now I'm just wishing they did a flashback episode where they were children.
Would have been so funny. Just like dedicate 4 or 5 episodes to flashbacks of like some of the main characters. That would have been pretty great.
Because we talked about the dream that Kevin would have, where he instead works in the warehouse. These would be such good office episodes.
This to NBC, dude.
Craig Daniels, please bring the office back just for these episodes. They've talked about doing a spin-off series.
Yeah, there's a couple that they were thinking of doing. And I read while I'm thinking about this, I read about one with Craig Robinson where it was pitched like this was, and it had a title and everything. I don't remember, but he was going to be a music teacher in Chicago or Detroit or something.
You're talking about Daryl, right?
Like, yeah, Daryl.
Okay.
And he was going to be single and like crushing on other students' moms or something. And that was the little synopsis I read about it.
Oh, cool.
But I guess it never came to fruition.
Yeah.
But that would have been an interesting show.
Yeah, because when I think of a spin-off series of The Office, a main character of Daryl doesn't really come to mind. Just because not until way later seasons does he become a crucial bit of The Office when everyone else starts leaving.
Right.
They're like, we need recognizable characters. We're going to put Daryl upstairs.
We need somebody.
Yeah.
We need some kind of constant.
Yeah, that'd be funny. I can imagine his taco night
Yeah.
actually being filmed. That'd be funny.
Yeah, that would be good.
We have so many good episode ideas.
But then there was another spin-off series that I heard rumors about, which was about Dwight's farm. It was supposed to be about Schrute Farms. I think. That might just be made up in my head, but I'm pretty sure I heard a rumor about that.
I remember reading one, and I feel like it had Dwight involved, but I don't think it was about the farm exactly. I can't remember. I know it was like 2 people from The Office, and I think one of them was Dwight, but I can't remember exactly where they were going with that. But yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to touch on him calling himself the lion.
Yeah.
And going off of the big tangent I went on Jim last episode, I started noticing things that he said, and they're not huge things, but I just wanted to bring them up because it kind of furthers it's not even a theory, it's just kind of what is going on in his head. And I noticed when he was having the conversation with Pam, like they're talking about their weekend plans.
And he was watching Trading Spouses or something.
Yeah.
Trading Spaces, whatever it is.
And then
Pam was like, "Oh, I have plans," and then Jim was like, "Oh, you have a life? What's that like?"
Right.
And I don't know. It's just, he also mentions he wants to throw himself off a train. I can't remember the context.
Because he's saying, if this was my life, as in The Office was his life. If this was my life and I wasn't going to go anywhere after this, then I think he says I would throw myself off a train.
Yeah.
He's sort of convincing himself that this can't be his life.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on those things that he's going through.
Yeah.
Because, I don't know, just following his storyline in the first season is very interesting. I feel like even up until he and Pam actually start dating,
True.
it's just interesting because they don't really convey it hard. It's very subtle.
It is.
And like these moments where he's actually talking about his job aren't, but a lot of the subtleties, especially in the last episode of him not being able to make this deal,
Right.
is very subtle on his personality and just everything that he's going through right now. And yeah, just his super depressive comments in this episode is just it's so saddening. And yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting how once you've brought up those sort of ideas, how there's a lot of confirmation that is actually what's happening.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly more convinced as I continue watching that that's what's happening.
Yeah.
And I feel like we'll talk about this more in the next episode, but also his like wanting to be closer to Dwight in a weird way could also further his, I don't know, jealousy and also trying to figure out how he does it.
Right.
I don't know. We'll get more into that in the next episode because it's a lot more of Jim and Dwight's relationship in the next one. But yeah, since we're kind of on the topic of Pam, did you have something that you wanted to talk about with her?
Well, I guess my main thing is in the opening shot of this episode, I'm pretty sure it's with her and Michael approaches her and it's like Pamela Ding Dong making copies. But that first shot of her, she just looks so sad.
Yeah.
And she's sitting at her desk. Like she just looks defeated. And I just feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I don't know. Pam also kind of has the same emotions as Jim in a weird way. Because we find out through time that not only does she like to do art, but she also would, if she didn't do that, she'd prefer a different job at the office.
True.
She'd love a more authoritative position.
She'd like to be more in line of work instead of on the sidelines
Yeah.
giving tickets or, taking tickets.
Because I feel like that's very much her personality, and she wants to defy that in any kind of way.
Yeah, I think that's a big driver for her characters. Anytime she can prove that she's capable of hard work, I think that really motivates her and gives her a boost of self-esteem.
Yeah, for sure.
Just like an example, when Michael takes him to the mall and she has to change the tire, I just think that speaks more to just her willingness to work hard and show that she knows how to do more than answer the phones.
Yeah, definitely. Also, another example is beach day.
True.
When she's the only one that does a fire walk.
Yeah, that's a big character revealer for her.
Yeah.
And a big shift from that point on. She's very different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's, especially in the first season, she's desperate to defy this person that she's become. And it's not necessarily she wants to not be her, but just a stronger version of herself.
True.
Because I feel like even her relationship with Roy is like they got together because he thought she was cute and asked her out on a date, and then it just dragged until they've been engaged
for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel bad for her because, and like you were saying, her and Jim actually do have a lot of similarities in their character, where they're both are more prone to passivity. And I think there hasn't been a huge reason for her to leave Roy, because he's been a decent guy and he's funny.
Yeah.
But she's not really happy.
Yeah.
And it's just started to drag on towards become this huge thing. And maybe she's looked back and realized how much time's gone by.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking of that episode where they're talking about bad first dates, and even her first date with Roy wasn't good.
Yeah.
And yet, I don't know, I kind of relate to this personality trait where I'm a single person who if someone gives me attention, I start talking to them.
Yeah.
And even though the only way that I actually would pursue anything is if I already have feelings. Like, I feel like I have to have feelings first.
Yeah.
Because if they have feelings first, then I get tense. Especially if it's someone that I don't know, I just never thought of that way. And it becomes, I don't know, I end up still talking to people who give me like more attention just because they're there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I definitely wouldn't end up in a relationship with them and then be engaged to them, but I still have like those tendencies of, even if I didn't have a good time when I hung out with them, I'd still pursue, even if they still show want for me after that first time, then I'm like, well, okay. And I don't know, I really relate to those emotions that she's having, because I feel like she wouldn't, I don't know, just a lot of people would never give her like a second glance, because she has that moment in time where she's trying to date people.
True.
And she doesn't have feelings for them first, and it is a really awkward date where she's trying to get to know them, but it's not clicking right. And I don't know, it makes me think, this is getting way into the future, where there's that really dumb Halloween episode where the handsome traveling salesman
Oh, yeah.
comes. And it's weird. Did they say that Pam asked him out, or I can't remember that whole... Because if he approached her, then it makes more sense. But again, it's the plot for that is so bizarre because I know like they kind of threw it in, but I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to a lot of her personality.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially after that other date that she had with like the comic.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she just would focus on herself. But I don't know, maybe it was a moment of weakness like in her life. I don't know. I'm starting to think
As I'm
more
thinking
about that.
about it, I think he might have asked her out, but then he didn't call back for a second or third date or something.
Yeah.
Which kind of matches with her character because she's waiting for someone else to make the move.
Yeah, that definitely does.
And as you were talking earlier, it made me realize that typically in a relationship, there's a pursuer and then there's someone who sort of accepts someone else's, advances.
Yeah.
Whatever. I can't think of
Yeah.
better words than that. And when we're looking at Pam and Jim, both of them are sort of on the passive side of that relation. Neither of them are real pursuers.
Mm-hmm.
Jim can be at times.
Yeah.
But his default is to sort of wait for something to come to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of why it takes so long for anything to happen between them.
Yeah, I agree.
Because neither of them are
They're
willing
very passive.
to
Yeah.
step up and say, hey.
Especially when it's someone that they actually have feelings for.
Yeah.
Because
it makes it 10 times scarier.
Yeah. Because you think of Jim's first relationship with Amy. Is that her name? The redhead?
Yes.
With the purses?
I think so.
I could be wrong. But anyways, he pursues her.
That's true.
And I think it's mostly... Well, first of all, they compare her to Pam.
Yeah.
And then I think it's because... I don't know. He just has the chance to.
Yeah, and part of it, I feel like, is... Part of the driving reason might be because Roy was saying, like, if I was single, if I wasn't dating Pam, I'd be all over that.
Yeah.
And he sort of accuses Jim of being gay. And so,
Yeah.
I don't know.
But then you think of Karen, and I feel like she's the pursuer in that situation. Because you see her catching feelings.
And she makes majority of the sacrifices
Yes.
in that relationship.
Yeah.
We'll have check-in time with Kevin.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what he does in this episode.
So the one thing that sort of gives a glimpse to more of his dopey side is when Jim locks Dwight in the office. And it's when Michael is staying in his office and everyone's waiting for him to come out so they can confront him about the healthcare. And he's saying, like, do you think he's going to stay in there forever? And Kevin says, to go to the bathroom. And so he definitely has potty humor and sort of not sophisticated humor.
I don't know. I feel like
But still,
that's a driving thing of his personality in general, though. Because this is still when he's semi-normal.
right.
Is Michael's birthday episode. And, Pam and Jim are getting presents for him.
Right.
And they get like 69 cup of noodles and all that. So, I don't know. I feel like he has that dopey personality where he just is very immature. But I wonder if that's also because he did apply for the warehouse.
Right.
And the warehouse is definitely more, I don't want to say risque, but they just have more of that humor.
Yeah.
I feel
that's
like.
true.
And it's not like the office upstairs is any better.
Yeah.
But
I'm just thinking, like, he always sets the thermostat to 69, and in the office, no one would really laugh at that.
Yeah.
But in the warehouse,
I feel like they would
everyone
like
think
fist
that
bump
would
him
be
or
funny.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they would think that was hilarious.
Yeah. So I don't know if it just stems from that's his kind of personality where he would fit in a bit more of like a rough and tough situation, and it just doesn't match exactly with everyone else's, because I feel like when they do show the warehouse workers, they have that kind of mentality.
Yeah,
Obviously it's not as pronounced as Kevin's, but it's definitely in like the same range, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because you think of the Jamaica episode with Jan, the picture of Jan, and they like print out a big poster of it,
Right, and put it on
and
the
then
wall.
Kevin takes it home. So they kind of have that, I don't know, same characteristics of Kevin. If he were in the warehouse, he would support the printing of it, and he is the one that takes it home.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I feel like in the beginning it's just more of who he is rather than a sign of him declining. Because I feel like that's just who he is at the beginning.
And it's true. It seems like as time goes on, they begin not only relying on that side of him, but amplifying it and transforming it into something that is sort of against his character, or I guess completely against his character.
Speaking of the accountant clump, I just wanted to talk about the prank that Jim does on Dwight. And it's not like a huge comment on her character, but I just found it interesting how she was laughing with everyone else that Dwight was the one being terrorized.
Oh.
Which clearly shows that they didn't, like, they weren't together at the time,
Yeah.
and there wasn't really like feelings.
That's true.
Like, she was
didn't
very
notice
much
that.
like on the side of everyone else,
didn't
which I
notice that.
found very, it's just odd to see her in that
Mm-hmm.
character, because she was like having a fun time with everyone else, and I was like, this isn't Angela Martin. Yeah, I just found that. I'm trying to think the prank that Jim does on Dwight.
Well, there's the one where they have to fill out all their health problems.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
And
It's when he's
there's like all these
listing-
made up.
Yeah, it's when he's listing them off
Uh-huh.
in front of everyone, not in the conference room, but just in front of the office. Like, she's laughing with them, which makes me think that
didn't
she
notice that.
also wrote down like fake diseases and stuff.
Oh yeah, maybe she did.
Because we know that she does have a comedy side to her. I'm thinking of the episode where they're filling out like comic
Oh yeah,
things for Gabe, and she's
true.
she's the joke that wins.
Yeah, she has sort of a hidden
Uh-huh.
joke side inside of her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to comment on that because it's just interesting seeing Angela in a light where she's with the group and she's
a really
having a
good
fun time with the group.
Yeah, that's weird.
Because you think of if this happened in a later season, she would be on the side of Dwight and be like, I feel like she'd say, oh, I never get sick either.
Right.
Like, everyone's being a bunch of babies. And she might only list off a healthcare to help her cats out.
True. Does it have vet benefits?
Yeah. Something like that.
But it's interesting that it was placed in the first season, and they just didn't establish their relationship yet, and not really Angela's character yet either. And so, I don't know. It's just, it's very insightful to see her in a light like that before she starts dating Dwight.
Yeah, that's a good thing to point out. I didn't notice that.
Uh-huh.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's another one I want to keep my eye on more as
Angela?
time goes on. Yeah, because I feel like there's sort of hidden things about her that I haven't picked up on.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like we need to pinpoint exactly what's going on through her mind.
Yeah.
Because there's not like a big mental health thing going on with her. At least not until, I want to say, when she gets a divorce.
Yeah. That's about the only part where we see a real breakdown from her.
Yeah.
And kind of when her cat dies.
That's true.
But, I don't know. That's more just anger.
Yeah.
And grief. Because she claims that she's not depressed. She's just in grief. But yeah, I want to pinpoint what Angela is kind of going through. Because she's definitely... She seems very dry and like it's just cut clear and we know exactly who she is. But I feel like there's... I don't know. We've kind of talked about it before with her sister and like her family.
Right.
Where there's a lot of tension.
Yeah, because she does have a sister that she hasn't talked to in a very long time.
Yeah. But I feel like there's more to uncover there.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For sure. Yeah, we'll have to keep our ears open and
Yeah.
see what we can figure out about her.
I don't know. It's a very neatly tied up episode where a lot of the first season are their own individual stories and you don't really need to watch
That's true.
a different episode to get what's going on. So, you know, there's not really a continuation, and as we've said before, it's not like they leave you wanting.
Right. Like what's going to happen
Yeah.
next in the office.
Yeah, because it's very...
It kind of starts out as somewhat of a children's show, just in the same narrative of there's a little story that's going on and it's going to be tied up by the end of the episode.
True.
Just in that respect. And yeah, it's just neatly tied up at the end of this episode where just they decide to go with a healthcare that, you know, they could have decided way later.
or earlier.
And I also feel really bad for them.
I know.
Because if Michael would have picked something out, it would have been at least... He could have just done the best of the lowest.
I would have just asked Jan what her suggestion is.
Yeah.
Because she would have just given them an honest opinion.
That's so true.
But Michael just didn't ask and panicked.
So they have crappy healthcare coverage.
Yeah.
It's all because of Dwight and Michael.
Mostly Michael for giving Dwight the option to do that.
And his personal workspace.
Yeah.
I love Dwight's little glance that he gives the camera after he and Michael are like negotiating if it's an office or a temporary workspace.
Yeah, I love that entire dialogue throughout
so
the
good.
episode. Yeah, just all the, especially Jim's canoodling with when he and Pam come in to complain about his new healthcare plan.
Yes.
And just the whole dialogue between them of like, so it's a workplace, like it's a workspace. I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty good.
All right, well, I think that is gonna wrap up
Yeah, I think that wraps it up pretty
the
good.
end of the episode for healthcare.
Nice, man.
And yeah, we'll see you later.
Yeah.
And what's
Dude.
oh, did you hear that?
I did hear that. It sounded like a branch snap.
We're home alone.
The knob is slowly turning. I'm so scared right now.
Hey guys, it's just me with the groceries.